Far over the misty mountains go, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away.
It is a beautiful misty day today, and we are doing the same thing we were doing yesterday, so not too much excitement there to show you, but I thought that what would be useful to show you or talk about is everything else that's surrounding us here, all the native species and the plant species that we already have here around us. When we first moved here on the property, I was feeling a little bit bummed because it was at the end of summer and I knew we wouldn't be able to really plant anything and to harvest anything this summer and really get going on that growing side of things. But then I got thinking, there's actually all sorts of things all around us here, and there has to be some edible plants, there has to be some useful plants. So I got to doing a little bit of investigation, and of course there was. And so even just right around us here, there's a number of these species. So right here in front of me, these little white berries, we have this all over the property, and this is called snowberry. And it turns out this one is not that useful. You can eat it, like that. Doesn't taste like much, kind of like a mildly sweet apple. Not supposed to be too nutritious, and if you eat too much of it, it's maybe mildly toxic. And that's one of the reasons I thought to get the sheep and the goats first, was because we have too much of it. I mean, this stuff is everywhere, and they do eat it. So I thought, well, that's perfect because we can get animals that eat this, and then they have something to eat, and we start clearing some of this out. Another thing that's all over the property is just over here. And that is some kind of woodsy roses. And so, maybe if I can see this a little bit closer, this is a spiny stem here, but at the end of it you get these rose hips, which also can be eaten. They have a bunch of seeds in them. They're kind of hard on the outside, but they do have a nice taste to them. I suppose you can gather a lot of them and you can make tea out of them. So rose hip right there. Down here on the bottom, or on the ground floor, all over the property you have this stuff, which is called creeping barberry or Oregon grape. And I've taken some footage at some other times where I got some better shots that I'll put on here of some berries that grow with this that are called, Oregon grape. And those are nice. They're really tart, a little bit sweet, and so they are good for like putting in a lemonade, or kind of making a lemonade type drink with. So those are pretty useful. Aside from that, we have a lot of choke cherry all over the property, and we're able to go around and find some of those to eat. Here, maybe about a month ago, or a month and a half ago, was at the prime season for choke cherry. Choke cherries are nice. They're like cherries. They're like little mini cherries, a fairly big pit, so you don't get tons of fruit with each one. And they have this sweet taste, cherry taste, but also kind of an astringency. Not a bitterness, but that kind of taste that dries out your mouth a little bit. And they're actually kind of fun. You can make some jams and jellies and syrups with the choke cherry. So the place that we live is on an Indian reservation of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribe. It's called the Flathead Indian Reservation. And Thomas just got shocked. Was that you yelping? Yeah. All right, we'll follow up on that in a second. But what I was saying is that we live on the Flathead Indian Reservation, which is the reservation for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. And so in school, they actually have Native American studies all the time, and Corinne was learning Salish, the predominant language of these tribes. So she has some of the names of some of these species in Salish.
Huckleberries are called stisha, and then huckleberry bushes are called stishalk. And then when it's chokecherries are called hlo, and then 1 month is named hlo specani, because that means chokecherry month.
So Corinne's really loved learning about that culture and language of the native people that live by us here.
Yeah.
Another type of tree we have a lot of is right behind me, and this one right here, it's called a serviceberry or Saskatoon berry or Juneberry. And I was a little bit sad because these berries that grow on them are supposed to be pretty good, but they grow a little bit more at the beginning of summer, like in June. That's why I said Juneberry. And so I haven't ever really been able to taste what this one's like yet. So I'm excited about that, and I've found this a number of times on the property. In addition, I found elderberry on the property. There's a lot of junipers that have juniper berries that are good for seasoning meat, so you can make a tea out of those. There's hawthorn trees that are in the pasture that have a type of kind of woody berry on them. It also tastes a bit like apple that have been fun to try. And then of course there's all the sort of plants and trees and things that aren't for eating but are just nice for their beauty, and other things that have medicinal uses. For example, I found some American licorice plants, which I guess you can use their roots to also make a medicinal tea around. So I'm sure I'm just scratching the surface on what's really here on the property, but it's been really exciting to go around and find those kind of things. And this is kind of the first time in my life that I've really done that. I know that you can do that anywhere where you are, whether you're in an urban neighborhood, a park, in a suburban area. There's always different species of things around, and more than you would think if you know what to look for. I also absolutely love the trees on our property. We have a whole lot of ponderosa pine, which are this kind of tree that's right behind me. We have a lot of Douglas fir as well, Scots pine. But behind me here you can see there's aspens here down in this ravine. There's paper birch, juniper trees. There's also a lot of different mosses and lichens that I'm getting to know that are completely new to me. Just right here on the ground is this moss right here that I've really loved, that is very beautiful in patches all around this kind of ravine area that you're seeing right here. And then I have a desire to learn more about the different type of fungi that are around. There's a good Facebook page that I've been monitoring that's a Montana foraging society that does a good job at people can put on their different types of fungi that they find, and other people help them identify those. As we've been hiking around in the local mountains, we found some other species that we would love to have here on the property, such as thimbleberries and things like that. So we're going to try to get some of the local species and that aren't on the property yet, and try to get some of those started on the property. So ultimately this is something I recommend everybody do, and it's something I wish I would have done in the previous places I've lived or been to. So last year we were traveling all year, mostly in Europe, and I really would have loved to learn of the different kind of plants and native species around there. And here's one trick to make it really easy, and that's that today there are these apps that you can get that help you to identify the plant species. I'm using one called Picture This, and all you do is take a picture. You can even just take a picture of the bark, and then it comes back. So this one is gray alder, and it gives you all sorts of information about it. It doesn't get it right 100% of the time, but you can kind of figure that out over time, and then you can start doing research about all the species. So that's one little trick that I use to really start learning about the stuff very quickly. So at the end of the day, it was really great to learn of all these things that we already had all around us, and we look forward to just bringing more species onto the property that are good for food, that are good for beauty, and just keep on augmenting the overall beauty of this place in the fullest sense of that term. Okay, so this is Gary Nuila signing off for the day from Mission Top Farmstead and Ranch. We'll see you tomorrow. This is just to prove that I do actually work. I don't just make the videos and make my kids do all the work.
I'm falling. Sorry.